Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to Picks and Pours, episode 21. If you can believe we've done 20 of these, about to be 21 now. Today is Thursday, March 28th, and March came and went just like that. We're on the verge of UFC Atlantic City and Easter Sunday for all those observing. Before we get into any of that, let me introduce all the way from crosstown, also with a fresh haircut, Matt the Mechanic. What's going on, Matt?
Hey, Bill, how's my nose look? I took a knee tonight in the class, and
It
I
looks
think I'm good.
straighter.
I think I'm good. I hate knees in the nose.
They straightened it out for you.
Yeah. Well, that would be me. I need myself in the nose.
You need yourself in the nose.
Yep.
How does that happen?
It's guard problems.
You must be super flexible.
You can't touch your knee to your nose?
I mean, yeah, but
I can get my legs completely behind my head, but that's for if we ever do an OnlyFans.
yeah. Let's put that on
We
there.
got to keep that locked down for now.
Well, last week I had Serena De Jesus talking about her OnlyFans doing Legos in a bikini. I guess now we'll get your OnlyFans started.
Yeah. I don't know what those people that are starting OnlyFans are thinking. There's no way they can switch the image of that platform.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I tried to check it out because I've got people that I follow that are on there, like Billy Q is on there and Josh Thompson, but I found it frustrating that there's no app. You have to log in through a web browser. I'm like, nah, fuck this. If they
Well,
had an
that
app,
shows you how much I know. I thought there was an app, so I'm definitely out.
I thought there was too. But and then here's how dumb I am. I've tried several times to get it because I'll hear somebody that I follow talk about like, oh, exclusive content on our OnlyFans. And I go to download the app, and I've done this several times. And I'm like, where the hell is it? It does not exist. Like, you would think this platform makes so much money. Like, just build a friggin' app.
Hey, maybe TikTok can buy, or I mean, OnlyFans can buy TikTok, and now they got an app.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, basically. It's the same shit anyways. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm gonna get shadow banned again talking about OnlyFans because every time I post something about OnlyFans, my posts get shadow banned on YouTube. So let's talk about fighting and whiskey.
Yeah.
Pour of the week for me is this delicious Bulleit bourbon single barrel, and this is a store pick from Liquor Depot in Tampa. It's let's see, 104 proof, and it is really tasty. I'm a big fan of Bulleit. Bulleit was one of the first bourbons I really got into when I started on this bourbon journey. Like, gosh, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, I really started getting into bourbon. It was one of the first ones I was drawn to just because it was a little different than your typical, Jim Beams or whatever. And Bulleit had a time where it was super trendy for people to drink. I used to drink it over ice, and I used to put like a little cap full of vanilla extract in it. And that would be like my weekend sipper. And that was my introduction to the world of bourbon. But I kind of got away from that because I always like to try different things. But then Liquor Depot had this store pick. And for those who don't know what a store pick is, basically somebody from the store tries samples from different barrels, and then they'll pick one of the barrels and say, that's what I want to sell to my customers. And they pick that barrel, they buy the whole barrel, it gets bottled, it gets shipped to their store, and they sell it as a store pick. So it'll have some very unique flavors to it, as opposed to, just something else that's sitting on the shelf, just a little bit different, a little bit of nuance to it. But this Bulleit single barrel is really good. So if they haven't sold out of it, I might go grab another one.
And you give me shit for putting Coke Zero in my drinks, and you're putting, what'd you say, vanilla extract?
Yeah. I don't do that anymore. That used to be my thing. But now I I just get bourbons that kind of have those vanilla flavors that I look for naturally.
You know my taste. You think I'll like that one? Or
This
pass for that
one,
one? Yeah.
you would definitely like this one because
Okay.
it's like it's in the realm of like the Eagle Rare, Heaven Hill. It's a like very similar flavor profile. You would definitely dig this one.
Man, I'm on Redwood Empire for a while now. Every time I go and need a bottle, I go in Lucan's. It's on sale. I think it's like $25 now. Can't beat it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to get over to Lucan's.
All the Redwoods are on yeah, Redwood. Yeah, Redwood.
Oh,
They're on sale.
I got to go stock up. I think I'm out
Yeah.
of all of them. All right. Um, so this bourbon is delicious. I've been drinking some nasty stuff lately. I've been doing shots of this Howler Head because Serena nailed me with a hot take on Sunday. You got me with a hot take last week, so I feel like I need to redeem myself here and just be able to sip on something delicious and not take a gross shot.
We're gonna do a little different this week.
Yeah, let's mix it up.
We're gonna do a little role playing.
All right.
I'm gonna try and read. So, who's Jamie Varner? Help me get into character.
So Jamie Varner actually I would call him a pioneer of MMA. He was one of the first guys fighting in the lower weight class, the 155-pound weight class, like before the UFC even had it. And you know, he was really well respected in the MMA community. Tough dude. He was really well rounded. Follows me on Instagram for whatever that's worth. Um, and he seems like a really solid dude. This whole incident seemed to come out of left field. He didn't seem like the type of guy that would say stuff like this, but apparently he came after Laura Sanko here.
So I'm gonna read his second tweet. His first tweet is more of the same of what I'm about to read, but
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's at Laura Sanko is ruining the fights by talking so much. Leave the commentary to the people who have actually fought. A female UFC fighter should have that job. She is just annoying, and obviously she is trying so hard and doesn't know what she is talking about. Clown emoji.
Laura Sanko responded at Jamie Varner. You and I actually fought on the same card in 2011 for Titan FC. We warmed up next to each other in the basement of the Memorial Hall building in KCK. I guess that's Kansas City, Kansas.
Yep.
My best friend braided your hair because you couldn't find anyone to do it. I remember thinking how cool it was. I gotta actually open X to read this. How cool it was at the time to be on a card with you. I had followed your career in the WEC and was a little starstruck, to be honest. It's okay that you don't like my commentary, but respectfully, I've been part of this game and training since 2006. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and while I can't compare my career to yours, I have in fact fought. And if UFC had a 105-pound division, I would have fought a lot longer. This is a 10-7 round for Laura Sanko right here.
Yeah. He obviously had to feel like a complete moron when he realized he's like thinking back to the person that's braiding his hair, and it's like either that or he just did this to get attention. Because first off, how can a fighter or a commentator ruin a fight? I mean, he knows what fighting. He just turned the shit off. I mean, I turn it off all the time. I don't particularly care to listen to DC, and sometimes I just turn it off. But yeah, I'm gonna be taking a shot on this one. I mean, what a moron.
Yeah, I think, if you're going to be playing the role of Varner, I mean, he definitely lost this one. It was probably a case of, he's probably having a few beers watching the fight, and he's just like, man, why won't she just shut up? And then he gets on Twitter and he gets, the drunk loose fingers we've all been victims of in the past. But
I'll take it a farther. There's times when I'm watching Laura Sanko, and yes, she talks a lot, but that's because she can come up with the things that need to be said faster than most of the other people.
yeah,
A couple times people will be stumbling on a certain submission or that. But she nails it. Some people might not like the pitch of her voice, but what she can do, she can't do anything about that.
Yeah,
Put on color commentary then,
yeah, and
or
I agree
subtitles.
that she can be a little much sometimes, like maybe over talking a touch, but she's still pretty new at this. This is what, the third card that she's done the
Yeah,
commentary
third or
for.
fourth, and she's worked her way up from the bottom. She started at who knows what she started, but I think it was probably commentating on the promotion she fought for.
Yeah,
What's that?
yeah, in Invicta.
Victor.
I think she was. I think she was in had a fight on there, and yeah, it's a hard job. I mean, people think it's easy. Even someone like Jamie Varner, as experienced as he is, if they put you on TV for 7 hours or whatever it is, and you got to talk the whole time, and the whole time you're talking, somebody's talking in your ear, telling you where to take the conversation and making corrections. Um, it's a really, really difficult job to be a commentator. So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say she's the best to ever do it, but I mean, she's still pretty new. Like,
Well,
let's let her warm up to it.
but she could already say she's the best woman to ever do it. And
In the UFC,
no, I
yes.
could go as far as any woman in any sports commentary I can think of. She's
Hmm.
there's a woman that's in the NCAA, but she's bad. Like I can't listen to her. I think a lot of that's because they never played the sport. But
Back when I
can
was a baseball fan, I followed the Yankees, and they had this female commentator named Suzanne Waldman, and she had like a thick Boston accent, and it was brutal to listen to. I did not enjoy it, but I don't follow many other sports, so I can't really say I can't really speak on it. But what I can speak on is I remember when Big John McCarthy started doing commentary for Bellator, and who has more knowledge of MMA than Big John McCarthy? Probably nobody. He might be like the single most well-informed mind in the history of the sport. I mean, he knows the rules in and out. He wrote half of them. But when he started doing commentary, he was bad, like really bad. Um, but now he does a great job, and he does an awesome podcast with Josh Thompson. When they started that podcast, that was awkward too. He just couldn't get a rhythm on it. I mean, far be it from me to criticize anybody doing a podcast, but there is a rhythm to it that takes a while to pick up on. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Everybody tries to start a podcast. I've seen a lot of MMA podcasts come and go in the 7, 8 years that I've been doing this. And everybody thinks it's easy. And everybody thinks that doing the commentary in the UFC is easy. Uh, it's not. It's fucking difficult. So give her a break. It's only her third or fourth time doing this thing. So
well, and if you don't, and if that doesn't convince you, next UFC event, just turn your volume down, and you and your person sitting next to you, you go ahead and try it.
yeah, I don't like commentary in general. I usually have the volume off, or I have it very low. The only time I turn it up is when something confusing is happening and they have to explain it. I like just watching the fights and not having the bias, especially to come and do this show. I like to come in with my own opinions, or what I like to feel like, or my own opinions, and I don't want to be influenced by the commentary. So, yeah, unless Jamie Varner has a TV that the volume button doesn't work, I don't really see the problem. So, since you're being Jamie Varner, what are you taking a shot of here?
It's called Rams Point Peanut Butter Whiskey.
Mmm.
I think you gave me one that was called Screwball a while back, right? And
Yeah.
that one was pleasant, but I don't think this one is going to be as
Yeah, this
pleasant.
is gonna be like the Timu brand.
Or what's the other one?
Screwball.
Alibaba.
I don't know. Down the hatch. How is it?
I think think they might have put the wrong sticker on it. It tastes like butterscotch.
Oh, and it's supposed to be peanut butter?
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
taste any peanut at all. I mean, the butterscotch is nice. I would like to take a little bit of this butterscotch flavoring and put it in the bourbon, like you said. But whatever liquor they have in here is, my
yeah,
eyes are watering.
it's not peanut butter.
Oh,
All right.
my
Well,
eyes are watering, and it's 35%. So,
Laura Sanko, I hope you appreciate
I,
that he did that for you. He took
oof.
one for the team here, Team Sanko. Um, yeah, I thought her comeback was great. It was tasteful. She reminded him like who she is, and quite frankly, embarrassed him.
Yep, Laura Senko gets points in my book.
Yeah, for sure. So even if you think she's annoying, you have to admire that comeback. Um, let's see. Let's get into these picks here.
Well,
Oh,
we have one more little event. I think you have an announcement to make before we get started on these fights. I'm going to cue up the music. So, make your announcement.
ladies and gentlemen, the American gangster, Chael P. Sonnen, and the P stands for icon, is going to be running for governor of the great state of Oregon. The West Lynn gangster becomes the West Lynn politician. We kind of always knew this was coming. I mean, Chael is tailor-made for politics. He has like that Jesse Ventura quality to him that would translate very well to politics. We know he's a certified bullshit artist. Um, I can't think of a more perfect person from the MMA space besides maybe Dana White, and he'll never run for office. To run for political office, I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, especially in Oregon, because I'd imagine his politics don't line up with a lot of the, well, any city in this country. I'm making a speculation that he's going to be a Republican. I don't know,
Oh yeah,
but we have a friend that just moved up there, and the boots on the ground report I'm getting is pretty much no one feels that way in the rural area. He's just opened up a jiu-jitsu gym, and none of that. He says no one is everyone's a conservative. So maybe Chow will do well. I don't know how well known he is in that area.
I think he's probably pretty well known. I mean, he's been a staple of the community. I'm sure he's very involved in the community there. And yeah, I think outside of the big cities, very conservative state, from the impression I get. Obviously, you've got some big cities there that are very liberal, and they're doing their thing. But overall, I don't know. I don't know what the incumbent governor's political affiliation is, but I have a feeling that Chael will do well. I mean, the last person we saw from MMA try to run for office was BJ Penn in Hawaii, and that didn't go so well. And he tried to run as a Republican as well, and not good. But BJ was never a great talker. He was an outstanding fighter, one of the greatest of all time in his prime. I'll add that caveat. But was never a big talker. I didn't really get the whole, political run there, but Chael Sonnen makes sense.
I listened to BJ a bit on that running for Hawaii. I don't think he ever winning was a goal of his. I think it was more of a
Just doing it to do it.
well, no, like he kept saying, like these things need to change in Hawaii, and it's not going to change until people start trying to change it. So I'm going to try to start to change. Maybe somebody gets inspired that can actually do this from seeing me run. That's admirable.
Yeah, that's, the kind of noble intentions that you want to hear from somebody running for office. The unfortunate truth is, even if you have those intentions going in and you genuinely intend to make those changes, I think once you get in and see the other side of the fence and the inner workings of these things, those ambitions just get crushed so quick.
Yeah, once you see how the sausage is made, you realize you might as well just start making sausage.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to get too deep into it because everybody gets politics
Hey,
everywhere else they go.
that's why we just talk general politics and not on either side. We just talk
Right.
the bring the
Although
news.
after this one, we're gonna be called right wing extremists by some people, and that's fine. But let's um let's do the picks, and then, or did you have anything else on Chael?
No, nothing else on jail. All right, let's do the picks, and then I got a couple fight announcements and some clips if we got some time.
Yeah, I have one more topic I want to bring up as well. I want to talk about the Roadhouse movie.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about that now? Let's do the picks. Let's do the
Let's do
picks.
the picks. Yeah, that's what everybody's here for. Here for the picks and the pours. I'm gonna have another pour, and we're gonna do some picks. So UFC returns to Atlantic City, New Jersey, the Las Vegas of the East. Have you ever been to Atlantic City?
Yes, but no. I've made a lightning run into Ocean City, which I think is pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm.
But we just picked a car up and got the hell out of there. So
Yeah,
no.
I've uh, I've been to a bachelor party or three in Atlantic City. It was kind of the trendy thing to do amongst my friend group back in New York. You know, it's a 2 hour car ride or something from New York City. Go down to Atlantic City. I always stayed at Harrah's. Harrah's was a nice hotel. To this day, one of the most comfortable beds I've ever slept in. But nice big casino, nice event spaces. From what I hear, it's turned into a bit of a dump, and it was never nice. You know, once you left the casino, it was like seedy dive bars and like areas you never felt quite safe in. But then the casinos would be really nice. But just getting from casino to casino was like a bit of an adventure, which I loved, in my 20s. And I was still, down for partying all night and things like that. I liked having Atlantic City pretty close by. I had a lot of good times. There were a lot of good memories.
Sounds a bit
There's-
like me growing up in Northern Ohio. We had a 2 hour drive to Windsor, Canada, and you know, at 19 you could drive up there, drive 2 hours, cross the border, get into casino, get in the strip club. You could
Uh-huh.
drink at 19. Same type of thing. But I imagine if I went back there now, I'd be like, okay, let's just leave.
I just heard John Anik say how he used a fake ID for the first time to get into a Canadian strip club at 16, and it changed his life forever.
Yeah.
I would love to get more details on that. I want to interview John Anik probably after he's done with the UFC and he can kind of let loose and really tell some good behind the scenes stories, because that guy has seen some shit.
Yeah. All right, we got some fights.
Yeah, we got some fights. So we're back in another main event in the flyweight division. I think this fight has more contender implications than last week's main event with Rose Namajunas and Amanda Hebos. So Aaron Blanchfield, the 24-year-old jiu-jitsu phenom, getting in there with Manal Fiorot, the much older but equally experienced MMA fighter. Now she's got more striking experience under her belt, but as far as MMA goes, we're looking at 12-1 versus 11-1, respectfully, for Blanchfield and Fiorot. So, what are the odds on this one? I don't think I even need to break down what each of these gals need to do. Blanchfield needs to get this fight to the ground, and Fiorot needs to keep it on the feet. So, what are the odds here?
Blanchfield's a minus 195. Furrow is plus 150.
Okay, which way you leaning here?
Give me a minute. I'm trying to figure out. Uh, how did she do? Blanchfield do in her last fight? It was she won to Talia Santos unanimous
Yeah.
decision.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a pretty dominant decision, or you don't remember?
Mm, it was pretty one sided. I wouldn't call it
Like it
dominant.
seemed like I remember Blanchfield in my mind being like, "Oh, this lady's gonna be the next champion." And I think this last fight was like, well, kind of like Usman versus Chimaev, where it was like, well, maybe Chimaev isn't the
Like
thing.
she's hitting a wall at the top. So she's got some impressive. She kind of derailed the Miranda Maverick hype train, and then she went on to 3 submission wins in a row over all ranked opponents, I believe. JJ Aldrich, Molly McCann, and Jessica Andrade. And then kind of hit a wall with Talia Santos, who, is a little bit bigger for this division and just, a lot to deal with. Um,
Let's go with the underdog,
who was the underdog again?
Figueroa.
Yeah.
Figueroa.
I like that pick. I think Firo is just going to be a lot for Aaron Blanchfield on the feet. My only hesitation with picking Firo is that Blanchfield just seems to win fights she's not supposed to. That's kind of been her MO the past few
Well,
fights.
t- she's supposed to win this fight.
Oh, all right. Well then, Manon Firo it is. I think, if she was able to beat Rose Namajunas, she should be able to handle Aaron Blanchfield. However, if she can't, it speaks a lot to the potential of Aaron Blanchfield, especially if she's able to finish Manon Fiorot, who just came off of a win over the former strawweight champ, 2-time strawweight champ, Rose Namajunas. I think that the more important thing here is if the winner of this fight is impressive, they're going to be put right into a title shot over Rose. If it's Fiorot, she's already got a win over Thug Rose in her last fight, so there's no reason for her to backtrack and fight her again for the title shot. And if it's Blanchfield, you know, she can kind of skip the line over Rose if she gets a finish because Rose looked good and dominant in her fight with Hebos, won 4 out of 5 rounds, in my opinion. But if Blanchfield is able to submit in a main event, I think she jumps the line.
All right, let's talk about some fights.
Yeah. So, co-main event, we got Vicente Luque and Joaquin Buckley. And man, does Luque just get the shit end of the stick all the time, or is it me? I mean, he's had to fight through murderers row in his time in the UFC, and then he finally gets a high profile fight against Ian Gary, which he deserves. So Ian Gary pulls out last minute. He had, a little sniffle or whatever the case was. Um, Pulls out of the fight, and Luque couldn't have been more of a gentleman about it. So now he gets a co-main event against Joaquin Buckley, who is a lower profile fight. I mean, let's be honest. The Ian Gary fight would have gotten a lot more eyeballs on him. And I think this fight is just as tough for him. Joaquin Buckley packs a lot of power that he's bringing down to welterweight. And if he has adjusted to this division, he's going to be a problem there. And Luque, he's got a lot of miles on him for a 32-year-old. Um, you know, Looked good in his last fight against RDA, but before that, back-to-back losses to Bilal Muhammad and Jeff Neal. So what are the odds and who do you got?
This is a pick. I'm -115, -110 for Buckley. And yeah, you're right. Vicente Luque's losses age so well. Geoff Neal, Bilal Muhammad, Stephen Thompson, and Edwards. I watched that Wonder Boy fight this week, and that was a freaking awesome fight.
Mm-hmm.
Luque's also got some submissions. He likes that Bravo choke.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's going to submit Joaquin Buckley. It's never been done. And Bravo choke. I mean, I should know this, but isn't that some different variation of a Darce, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joaquin Buckley is just massive in this.
Yeah,
I don't.
you got a big ass
And
neck.
also, Buckley started his career in like this bowl and china shop. He's like, I'm just gonna take your head off. But those last two fights, he seems like he's been a little more confident and patient.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've talked myself into Buckley pick here, even though
Yeah.
Vicente Luque, if I was prime Vicente Luque, if I was playing the UFC game, he'd probably be somebody I want to pick. He can do anything really well. But I don't know. You're right. The UFC must have something against Luque.
Yeah, this is not fair. It's a much lower profile fight, and the risk is just as great. Because you're right, Buckley's going to be hard to submit. And if you look at all of Luque's 8 submissions, they're all chokes. And good luck choking this monster, Joaquin Buckley. I think skill for skill, Vicente Luque is better everywhere. And,
Yep.
as far as knockout power, they're probably equal, but I would give the explosiveness advantage to Joaquin Buckley. Um, I think if Buckley is able to control his pace and not exhaust himself trying to finish Luque in the first round, that Joaquin Buckley is probably a smart pick. Moving on. This is one I'm not personally looking forward to. Chris Weidman getting in there with Bruno Silva. So this is Chris Weidman's second fight since that brutal leg break that he suffered against Uriah Hall. Came back and got in there with Brad Tavares, got the shit kicked out of his legs, showed some awesome toughness, but I mean, at 39 years old, uh, you know, Chris Weidman's a Hall of Famer. He doesn't need to be doing this anymore. It's an interesting matchup, though, with Bruno Silva, in my opinion. I'll tell you what I think about it after you tell me the odds.
Weedman's plus 185. Silva's minus 260.
You just call him Weidman?
Weidman. Sorry.
You have a one-track mind.
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot on the line for both of these guys in these fights. They're both on losing streaks. I know Weidman's a hero in your eyes, but I mean, he did good, but I just don't have the nostalgia around him because.
Mm-hmm.
But I love his coach. I love his team. But I don't even know if he's part of that team anymore because he doesn't train there.
Yeah. Yeah, like when Anik asked Ray Longo about him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I talked to him on the phone for 15 minutes."
But about the fight, Bruno Silva hasn't been doing very well. He's got some big punching power, but I think if Weidman uses his wrestling, avoids the big shot, makes it a boring fight, maybe, I hear he's got awesome ground and pound, top control. I think it's shaping up. It's in Atlantic City. That's close to home. I'm going to go Weidman. And hopefully there's a nice retirement speech.
Yeah, hopefully. If Weidman plays the fight the way he should, he's got a great chance because if you look at Bruno Silva's record, Shara Bulleit couldn't knock him out in his last fight, even though he threw everything in the kitchen sink at him. Submitted by Brendan Allen, beat Brad Tavares, submitted by Gerald Mearshart, and then Alex Pereira couldn't finish him either. So if Chris Weidman goes in there and tries to throw haymakers, he's going to attempt to do what Alex Pereira, who is a much more established knockout artist, couldn't do, and what Sharabutin Magomedov couldn't do either, who is an absolute savage, one of my favorite fighters currently right now, just because he's so scary and has one eye.
I'll bring him up later. He's got a fight date.
Yeah, which I am excited about. Now, Chris Weidman, 3-7 in his last 10 fights. That's not good.
Yeah, now you know why I have the opinion that I do.
Yeah, because if you look at it, so probably around the time you started watching was when Chris Weidman lost the title. Um, I just have to, for anybody who's been watching only as long as Matt has, what Chris Weidman did when he knocked out Anderson Silva absolutely shocked the world. When you talk about Matt, how like, the
Sugar Sean
the,
O'Malley,
the,
Sterling.
casual fans that you're friendly with at work or at the gym or whatever, and they only watch the big fights. I knew many people at this time who would only watch if Anderson Silva or GSP was fighting. So I was in a room full of people who were all casuals, and everyone assumed Anderson Silva was just going to demolish this guy. And Chris Weidman comes out, and Anderson Silva is showboating, doing his usual like bobbing and weaving with his hands down, and Weidman just catches him, puts him unconscious. It it was one of the most shocking moments in MMA history, to be honest. It's right up there with Matt Serra knocking out George St. Pierre. Um, just it was just an absolute shock. And then he went on to, break his leg in the rematch, and then he beat the shit out of Lyoto Machida, and then he really beat the brakes off of Vitor Belfort. It seemed like Chris Weidman was gonna be a middleweight champion for a long time. He was undefeated up to this point, and then was doing well in his defense against Luke Rockhold, and then decided to throw a shitty spinning wheel kick, and his career pretty much ended at that moment.
I'll give it to him.
Yeah,
We'll
I mean,
root
if
for
he goes
Weidman
in
this
there,
week.
he definitely has the skills to still take Bruno Silva down and probably submit him. So, I mean, here's hoping that happens.
Hey, and at least he's still in the UFC. I saw Luke Rockhold's like doing some karate shit.
Oh, is he? Is he doing the
Yeah,
karate combat stuff?
yeah. He's
He didn't.
fighting.
He didn't do so well in bare knuckle. We know that. All
He
right.
is fighting. Sorry to bring that to a screeching halt. Joe Schilling.
That's interesting. He's a lot bigger than Joe Schilling.
Karate Combat 45 on April 20th.
That's actually pretty interesting. I will be judging fights for Vigilant MMA that night, but I will try and catch the highlights of that. That is definitely interesting. Joe Schilling, uh, outstanding striker, Glory world champion, I believe. Did MMA, but was really a kickboxer doing MMA as opposed to being an MMA fighter.
Is
So
that the
karate,
guy that beat the shit out of the guy at the bar on
yes,
video?
yes,
Okay.
it is. Yeah, Joe Schilling's a bad motherfucker. He'll smoke a pack of cigarettes and then go spar 20 rounds.
Yeah, it's my
Um,
type of guy.
yeah. All right. So Nursultan Ruzaboyev, who has a very large record, 33-8, but it seems to be very padded, is getting in there against Cedric Dumas, which I always thought it was Cedric Dumas, but I heard John Anik calling him Dumas, and that made me second guess everything I know about the English language. So Ruzaboyev, his nickname is Black. I'm not sure why, but he's from Uzbekistan,
Maybe it was translated wrong.
or maybe it wasn't. um, it seems like he's got a pretty padded record. Like, let me just click on a random person on his record here. Here, 2018, Marcos Yoshio Souza. Yeah, this guy is 9-3 and hasn't fought in 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I just get the feeling looking at his record that, there's some questionable things in there. Cedric Dumas, who has about a third of the experience and who I believe is an underdog in this one. I feel like we haven't seen the best of Cedric Dumas yet. In any case, what are the odds and who do you got?
Dumas plus 275. Black is minus 225.
Okay. And which way are you leaning here?
Well, you know my rule. Ends in V. Taking him.
I'm going to go the
He's on a
other way.
9-fight finish streak. He's on a 9-fight finish streak. One includes a slam. He had an awesome UFC debut. So yeah, I'll take him. On MMA, no, what the hell is that show? What's the guy's name on Anik?
Oh, Brian Petrie?
Yeah, Brian Peachy put the whole $1,000 on this dude.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say Cedric Dumas gets it done.
All right.
Don't
Loser
change
adds
your bet though,
$5 to the pot.
because I don't want you to blame me if he loses.
I'll
All
change
right.
my bet.
Huh?
Trust me, I have way more trust in Brian Peachy.
You should. All right. Is Bill Algeo, Kyle Nelson the last fight on the main card?
No, we have two more.
Okay. So Bill Algeo, Kyle Nelson. Let's do this one quick. What are the odds? Who do you got?
Minus 250 Algeo, plus 190 Nelson. I'm going to take Algeo.
Yeah, it's probably a good pick. All right. Chidi Njokuani and Reese McKee. So this is
bang bang, minus 145.
Yeah, which is weird. A guy on a 3-fight losing streak is still the favorite. It shows you how explosive and dangerous this guy is. I think this is going to be his debut at welterweight. Is it not?
I'm not sure, but the other guy, he's got a weird thing. He was rough. His first stint in the UFC was Moreno, and Hamzat. He got cut, went back to Cage Warriors, and then he laid a big stinker in his re-debut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a plus 115. I'm just going to take Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah, Reese McKee is interesting. He gets into, he likes to brawl. He likes to make it dirty. And Njokuani has one punch knockout power. However, his downfall has been his cardio. So if Chidi's not able to do this in the first round and a half, we're looking at a win for Reese McKee here, in my opinion. But I like the pick of Njokuani. I think he's going to bring all his power with him that he had at 185. And I like his chances, even as a favorite here. Before we get into the news, a couple of other fights that kind of jump off the page to me anyway. Nate the Train Landwehr, always entertaining. And there with Jamal Amers, who I feel like is just coming into his stride as an MMA fighter. And Nate's coming off of that loss to Dan Ige, I believe. So we're going to see how he bounces back from that. Virna Jandiroba and Lupita Godinez is an interesting fight. Julio Arce and Herbert Burns. I like that fight a lot as well. Another Longo Weidman guy on this card, even though I don't think he trains with Weidman because Weidman's not there anymore, but it's Dennis Bazookia is fighting Connor Matthews. So that's an interesting one on the prelims as well. And I like this fight too. Andre Petrosky and Jacob Malkoun. I think that could be an interesting one. And that's kind of all I got for this. Then there's a guy who looks like Dolph Lundgren named Kowlin Loren, who's the opening bantamweight fight. Yeah, anything else on this card?
No. I'm just waiting for 300.
All right. So what are the news things you got there?
Well, we got some fight. Uh, the UFC's going to put on their first event in Saudi Arabia, June 22nd. The card will be headlined by middleweight bout between Hamzat Chimaev and Robert Whitaker.
I love it. I think that card sounds so exciting. And I know there's another big combat sports organization that's probably pissed about this announcement because I happen to have a little intel. I won't say the organization, but they were planning to announce a fight card in Saudi Arabia, and UFC beat them to the punch, so to speak, with an outstanding card, I might add.
Yep, and it'll be free on ABC.
Oh, yeah, that's huge too. So the return to ABC for the UFC.
And some of the other fights are Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov, Kevin
Love it.
Gastelum, Danny Rodriguez, Johnny Walker versus Volkan Oldsmir,
Mm-hmm.
and your boy against somebody I don't know how to say his name, but
Who's my boy?
Shara.
Oh, Sharabutin Magomedov.
Yeah,
Remember the name.
we'll refer to him on this show as Patch. It's a better.
Patch Adams. Yeah, I love everything about that card. We get to see Shara Bulleit again. We get to see the UFC in Saudi Arabia. I love Whitaker versus Chimaev. I think that's an awesome fight.
I
Um,
wonder what the line is.
we're gonna see Khamzat Chimaev push to his absolute limits in a 5-round fight with Robert Whitaker. And we're gonna see if Robert Whitaker still has enough left in the tank to deal with one of these young lions here. Um, he looked great in his last fight. But the fight before that kind of got outworked by the champ, Dricus du Plessis. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I love everything about this announcement. I think it's one of the better announcements we've had in recent memory. So
Yeah, I'm trying
there's
to
that.
find what the early odds are. What would you think the odds would be for the main event?
I would think that Robert Whitaker would be a slight favorite.
Well, I don't think we have those yet, but there are odds for Saturday, or June 29th for Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler still.
Even though that fight's not signed.
Yep.
Okay.
Little short note: UFC 305 is going to be in Perth, August 17th.
Okay.
I bet we could see Adesanya in that, fighting for a championship.
Hopefully.
Um,
Although I know Dricus is really hoping for the Africa card to fight Adesanya there. I think that would be huge.
well, unless you're getting a colored hair American on a plane to Perth to fight, I don't know who's going to fight Vulcan. No, I guess he's. Never mind. That was a dumb idea. So you watched Roadhouse.
I did. I watched Roadhouse. I think the day after it came out.
I watched it yesterday.
Okay. So I loved it. And I'll let me preface this with I'm a huge fan of the original Roadhouse movie with Patrick Swayze. It's one of my favorite bad movies of all time. I have like a list of bad movies that I just love. Roadhouse is by no means a good movie as far as the standards of good movies go. So I was expecting a bad movie going into this Roadhouse remake. And that's exactly what I got. And I got it with a lot of action. I got it with great acting from Jake Gyllenhaal, some appearances from Conor McGregor that were not really necessary. I loved all the references to the original movie. Like they kind of they gave a nod and paid homage to the original Roadhouse movie, but it was still kind of its own entity. The fight scenes were over the top, and I thought they were very entertaining. I thought Conor McGregor's acting was not good, but just like Laura Sanko, we got to give him a break. This is his first, major motion picture. Hopefully, he learned a lot of things. I think he's a lot better naturally than he is in like a defined acting role where he's being told what to say and do. He was not very natural. He was very kind of stiff. His line delivery was kind of clunky, but he definitely did a hell of a lot better than I would have done. Um, but overall, I was very entertained with the movie. Um, I loved all the references to the original, like I said, and by any standard, it's not a good movie, but it's a bad movie that I enjoyed. And that's kind of what I was hoping for. And that's what I got.
Hey, Bill, every couple months, I get hungry and I go to the vending machine at work and I get a Nutty Buddy. And it is so good. And that's what Roadhouse was for me. And it wasn't really that bad. I mean, the thing that bummed me out was the fight scenes because Jake Gyllenhaal did Southpaw, which had some really good fight scenes, and Conor McGregor. It looked to me with the CGI like they were like Stretch Armstrong and kind of just slapping each other. I wish they would have just made it more a simpler fight because that what really wasn't the most important part of the show. But yeah, Connor did great. Cowboy's a much better actor. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend anyone who is a fan of the original or anyone who is just interested in the Connor cameo, give it a watch. And go in with low expectations and just try to be entertained by it. And I think you will be. I was watching it in my backyard. I was having some whiskey and having a cigar, and I was just the whole time I was like, I'm really entertained by this movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Um,
And USADA was not on the set.
no, no, nowhere to be seen. Connor looked big. He
Yeah,
looked like
Connor. There might have been some CGI in that, but Jake was also. I mean, Stacy, my wife, was like, "Oh, I love that movie," and I'm like, I know why."
I mean, he's probably one of the GOAT actors of our generation. The guy's incredible. I think they said he's done like 75 movies. Um, he just he's just a great actor, and I think it helps that he stays out of the public eye and stays out of social media and all that bullshit, and doesn't give people like reasons to hate him. I think that definitely helps a lot. But the guy's a fantastic actor, and he's able to just take on these roles like you mentioned Southpaw. I thought he was amazing in that.
Yeah, it was a really great movie.
That was like a gut wrenching, emotional movie. Like I remember actually being really emotional at the end of that movie, which is not something that happens for me with movies. I just watch movies like just to be entertained for a little while. Um, but yeah, he was great in that. Um, and I think it was probably good for Connor to be in a movie with somebody like that with who's so experienced because he could probably learn a lot. I'm sure even though he didn't put on the greatest performance, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more offers on the table for him. And this was his first big movie, so there's going to be some hiccups, and he seemed to have a hard time. I would love to see like some of the outtakes or like some of the scenes that got cut from it.
I didn't think he did that bad. I thought he played his character correctly. He was supposed to be the coked, addled out idiot, and just
Yeah,
fortunately, it's
it's
pretty
just like
close.
some of the line delivery was just a little clumsy.
Yeah, maybe they should have did a couple more
Yeah,
takes.
like it just wasn't smooth. And he did play the character. He was supposed to play like the the coked up like enforcer or whatever, but it it seemed like a lot of it seems like a little forced.
Yeah, but his character did make me laugh the most in that movie. Whenever he'd arrive somewhere driving and just run into some bullshit and just be like, "Oh, who parked the fucking bikes there?" I was like, that made me
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah, I got a lot of meme ideas coming up from that movie. When he comes and he just walks past the big bouncer dude and he's like, sandwiches.
Yeah.
I was laughing pretty hard at that part too. I'm famished.
Did you have problems with the bass on that movie? I had
With
to
the
unplug my subwoofer because it was like I couldn't hear the movie because the bass was just so loud.
I think I would have if I was listening to it on a sound system, but I was watching it on my laptop. But yeah,
Okay.
there was some weird, like there was like a weird mixing issue where sometimes I couldn't really hear the dialogue. Um, but yeah, it the other thing that was weird is, and by the way, for anyone who doesn't want spoilers, it's too late at this point, but Connor's character just like they don't really explain it. He just kind of shows up and he's just there, and like nobody seems to know who he is except for the head boss. But he just like he shows up and then he's like running the show for the bad guys for some reason. And there's really no rhyme or reason to it. Like he's just there. Like you
Yeah,
could
he was
actually,
before that he's running naked in some Latin America country. Just
yeah. Like you could completely cut Conor McGregor out of the movie.
yeah, I was just having the exact same thought. It would have been great.
And yeah, and the movie still works. Like you just cut that character out. Jake Gyllenhaal has a final battle scene with like, one of the other
Or
guys.
the main guy.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, like
he challenged him to a boxing match in the Roadhouse. There we go.
yeah. But
Anyway,
I loved it. And to be fair, Roadhouse is one of those movies for me, the Patrick Swayze one, that well, I don't have cable anymore, but it was one of those movies when I did have cable. If I turned it on and it was on, whatever point it's at, I would watch it through to the end.
well,
It
if
was
you
just
didn't cancel your Netflix app, I watched it this week on Netflix. It's on Netflix.
now. Were you a fan of the original Roadhouse?
Yeah, I maybe watched. I think I watched Roadhouse for the first time when I heard Conor was making Roadhouse, and I've watched it several times past that. Since then, it's a great
Oh,
movie.
okay. So you weren't like a throwback.
No, I'm not a throwback, but this movie definitely made me like the old Roadhouse.
Yeah. I liked it because there were little things. I've seen the original Roadhouse, I don't know how many times. So when Jake Gyllenhaal first walks into the bar in the Keys, there's some band playing, and the lyric to the song is like something about a blind man. Now, in the original Roadhouse, Jeff Healey, who was an actual blind guitar player, played like the the leader of the band that was like the house band at the Roadhouse, and him and Patrick Swayze were kind of friendly. So I liked that. They worked in the lyric about the blind man, with the house band as Jake Gyllenhaal's walking into the Roadhouse. It was little stuff like that, and then he goes and orders the black coffee, which is what Patrick Swayze does. He goes to the bar and he drinks the black coffee, doesn't drink booze. Um, and there was a lot of those little references, but it was still like its own entity. The only thing that was still there was the premise is like this badass drifter kind of guy comes in and cleans up the bar. But other than that, it was like its own thing.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I'll watch it again soon.
I will too, because my wife didn't see it and I wasn't going to wait for her because my wife is notorious for she goes to bed early and just will fall asleep during movies. And I'm like, I need to see this. So
Yeah,
I wasn't going to tell her that I watched it. And then I was going to pretend to watch it for the first time with her. But then a friend of mine, we were out to dinner with another couple, and I got ratted out. But whatever. It'll probably be like another couple of months before she brings up watching it, and by then I will have seen it like 3 times probably. All right, you got any more news?
No news.
All right,
We're at an hour. I'll save the clip I got for
an hour is the
next week.
sweet spot. I feel like Elvis Presley always said, "Always leave him wanting more."
Yep.
And if you do want more, you can get some merchandise available at reaper1.co. You can get an over the top, under the influence t-shirt, tank top, or hoodie. Matt happens to be rocking the t-shirt currently, modeling it beautifully. So
No, it looks like shit, but it is the first one, so it's been washed many times. These shirts are much nicer looking than this.
yeah, well, yeah, that one you must have gotten that like 4 years ago, huh?
It's probably like, I wish there was like a number. It's probably like 003 of,
Yeah, probably is.
I don't know. Maybe we should contact Wardrobe and get some more.
Yeah, I do need to restock. I still have never gotten one of the hoodies, and I kind of like it that way. But if you guys want to grab one, you can use the promo code MMA Rocks 10 and go ahead and place your order. Full disclosure, I will spend the money on alcohol, so that decision's up to you. UFC Atlantic City this Saturday. Aaron Blanchfield, Manon Fiorot. Let me know in the comments who you guys are picking. Do you agree with the picks we made? Do you disagree? Let's have a little discourse about it. And that's all we got. I'm going to enjoy some more of this Bulleit single barrel from Liquor Depot Tampa. What are you sipping on there?
Redwood.
Ah, the Redwood Empire. Good choice. All right. That's all we got. Until next time. Cheers, everybody. Goodbye.